once again we have another day of reminding people just how much Donald Trump sucks and how much his cult is enabling predators. A federal appeals court today denied his request to overturn the ruling against him in the E. Jean Carroll case. So yes, he indeed does owe her $83 million. This comes shortly after he announced recently that he's taking the second defamation case against him from E. Jean Carroll, and he's now sending that to the Supreme Court. It really tells you something about the president of law and order when he claims that all federal courts are corrupt except for the one he packed with conservative ass-kissers. But not only was he complaining that the ruling against him was excessive, which the court found that it was not, but I guess also, as his primary defense, he claimed that because the Supreme Court gave him immunity for all of his presidential acts, that applied here. When not only did it occur several years before he became president, but sexually assaulting a woman in a department store is not an official presidential act, is it? That is the dumbest defense he could ever have, but he claims immunity for everything he does. And he's quickly finding out that the courts are like, pump the brakes there, Tiger. I very much appreciate the fact that the legal system, for the most part, is still holding. Because he has been giving us clear signs that he thinks he's a king. He just wants to make all of these edicts and says they are instantly law, and he doesn't care if they're constitutional or not. Take J.D. Vance's disgusting comment that he made after the U.S. attacked a Venezuelan boat. He said they suspected it had drug trafficking gang members on it, but they don't know. And so they just blew the boat up and killed like a dozen people. And after J.D. Vance said that was the best use of our military to kill cartel members, alleged cartel members, without any kind of due process, Rand Paul of all people called him out and said, Vance says killing people he accuses of a crime is the highest and best use of the military. Did he ever read To Kill a Mockingbird? Did he ever wonder what might happen if the accused were immediately executed without trial or representation? And he's absolutely right, and I don't like agreeing with Rand Paul. But Trump and Vance have repeatedly shown us that they don't give a shit if they ignore the Constitution and they commit war crimes.
Well, we have some astonishing news out of Washington, D.C. This following the order of the President of the United States to deploy National Guard to the district to deal with the out-of-control crime spree gripping the city. Here is what we know so far. The National Guard have cleared 906 bags of trash. They have spread 744 cubic yards of mulch. They have raked 502 acres of leaves and various debris. They have removed 5 truckloads of plant waves. I'm sorry, this is very, very serious. They have removed 5 truckloads of plant waste. They have cleared 3.2 miles of roadway and painted 270 feet of fencing. Thank God for President Trump.
So I've been hearing rumblings about some things that are sort of bubbling under the surface, and I'm wondering if any of you have seen similar things. So first, I've been speaking to salespeople that work for large manufacturing companies where they manufacture some goods here in the U.S. along with overseas. And up until now, they've been able to mitigate some of the tariff issues. They preloaded a lot of inventory back in January, but that's starting to run out and they're having to pass those costs on. Then they have the manufacturing here in the U.S. where they're getting raided by ICE agents and they're losing their skilled staff. Some of these companies have had to actually shut down manufacturing plants because they were raided and they can't get the skilled labor here in the US. But the buyers that they sell this stuff to, it's mostly like home building, they're struggling too because we're not building a lot of new homes because there's a shortage on certain supplies. They don't have the skilled labor because of the ICE raids. I think in a couple months, we're going to see some real economic downturn that's not currently being reflected in things like the stock market. And the salespeople that I've spoken to, they're nervous because their revenue stream is already, it's just been cut and they don't see how it's going to pick up. So I'm wondering if any of you are in the sales industry in large manufacturing and what you think.
22 additional South Korean sponsored or funded projects inside the United States are now at risk of being canceled, all thanks to the Republican congressional candidate Tory Bauman who is running for the 13th or is it 12th district? I don't know, because she's not that important representative seat in Georgia. She decided she wanted to be a racist white Karen, and now is going to cost tens of thousands of Americans their jobs, including the 8,000 positions that were slated to open in her hometown when this facility was fully built out. Additionally, they're saying that there will be positions at the Carrollton factory that Hyundai has operational that will be canceled, like I said. But all total, 22 additional South Korean companies or businesses that were in the process of being planned or built have now stopped all the production. Everything related to those facilities has been put on pause, and this was all part of the tariff deal between the White House and South Korea. This one racist woman in Georgia is going to cost tens of thousands of Americans potential jobs, and has all by herself created an international incident.
Yo, so by now you've heard about what happened at the Hyundai plant in Georgia, right? We all know about that lady, MAGA, who's running for office, who reported those people and got them people raided. Well, now Syphilitic Sid has entered the chat, and he's now saying that these foreign companies that are coming here need to train and hire American citizens. Well, dumbass, that's what they were trying to do. That's exactly what they were trying to do. 475 people got rounded up, right? But not all of them were here illegally. Some, yes, some were. Some had overstayed their visas. Others were actually engineers and tech support tech analysts who work for LG, the battery company that partners with Hyundai. And they were there to help get the plant up and running so that they could hire and train Americans. It's estimated that 1,200 people would be working at that plant. And then once those people got the plant up and running and were able to train those American workers, more than likely they would have left. But I think the best part of this story for me is South Korea said, what the? Never mind. And they sent a chartered plane along with immigration attorneys to pick up their people and bring them home. They said, if that's how you're going to treat our people, we'll just come get them. So now that plant is pretty much at a standstill. All them jobs that would have actually gone to Americans in that plant, more than likely gone. So to that MAGA lady, good job. Good job. If that was the outcome you wanted, because, of course, you're going to go back to the immigrants are taking our jobs. No, those immigrants were here to train people for jobs. So, good luck.
So yesterday, Donald Trump was talking to a crowd of religious folks, the good Christians. So he's up there talking, and of course he's scattered all over the fucking place, talking about every possible thing, going off on tangents. And for whatever reason, in front of this crowd, he starts talking about crime statistics, specifically Washington, D.C. He touts the fact that crime has gone down 87% in Washington, D.C. since he sent the troops in, which of course is not true, but truth doesn't matter to Donald Trump. But the fact is that he was bemoaning the fact that it was only 87%. He said it should be more than that. He said it could be 100%. Well, Donnie, why isn't it 100%? Well, of course, the Democrats are trying to get him because he's so fucking paranoid. But this is what he said, and this is an example of how tone-deaf and stupid this motherfucker is. He said, they count these little arguments between a husband and a wife as a crime. Now, we've all had arguments with our spouses, but if it raises to the level of crime, that would suggest there's domestic violence. And for whatever reason, Donald Trump doesn't think domestic violence should count in the crime stats because, well, it makes him look bad or not as good as he wants to. See, this is what this dumb fucker does, and this is how he truly feels, and why we should all question his motivation in virtually anything he does. He doesn't look at domestic violence as a real crime, more than likely because he's been involved in it to a certain extent in his past. But that's what he's saying. Domestic violence isn't a crime, so we shouldn't count it in the statistics, and then I could have 100%. Donnie, fuck you.
Last week, House Speaker Mike Johnson told us all that the village idiot Donald Trump was an FBI informant. It was a staggering statement. It was a head scratcher, even for Mike Johnson, even for a sycophantic Trump ass kisser like Johnson. It was a bit much. So instead of just having the emotional maturity, which you can't have in Trump land, instead of just saying like, you know, guys, I fucked up. I really didn't mean that. I said that. I was looking for a way to try to cover up for the village idiot. I shouldn't have said that. It can't possibly be true. Just, you know, I'll have to take the L on this one. Instead of having that just remote bit of emotional maturity, you can't do that in Trump world. You have to, you know, not admit that you were wrong. So Johnson's team decided that the best way to cover up him saying that the village idiot Donald Trump was an FBI informant was to blame the Epstein victim's lawyer. Let me just read you some of the reporting, just a little bit from The Guardian. In a matter of days, U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson claimed that Donald Trump was an FBI informant who was working to try to take down the late sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, then backed away from the confusing statement. Johnson made the baffling claim on Thursday, speaking to reporters at the U.S. Capitol, quote, "He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down," end quote, Johnson said of Trump. The remark was so perplexing that it reportedly confused even Trump administration officials. By Sunday, Johnson was walking back his explosive comment, quote, "The speaker is reiterating what the victim's attorney said, which is that Donald Trump, who kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, was the only one more than a decade ago willing to help prosecutors expose Epstein for being a disgusting child predator," end quote, his office said. That's not what Johnson said, because if that's what Johnson said, that's what Johnson would have said, right? And I heard Brad Edwards, the attorney for the Epstein victims, say what, I don't know, Johnson is suggesting he said, and it wasn't that. The Guardian continues. Brad Edwards, an attorney who represents several Epstein victims, told reporters Wednesday that Trump had helped him look into the claims about Epstein more than a decade ago, but had since done an about-face. According to the Washington Post, he did not say on Wednesday whether Trump had cooperated with law enforcement. As a matter of fact, when Epstein made that comment to reporters, which I was watching happen live in real time, it was clear that he was suggesting that there was something weird, odd, disturbing about the village idiot Donald Trump. Disturbing about the fact that at one point, the village idiot seemed very, very interested in helping expose Epstein's victims. The implication there, Epstein's co-conspirators. The implication there, the Democrats, those who were Democrats, who were Epstein's co-conspirators. But now that the village idiot is president, is covering up for the actual co-conspirators and himself, because as the Wall Street Journal informed us, he is mentioned at least many times in the hundreds of thousands or the 100,000 some odd Epstein files. It'll be interesting to see how and if Johnson's statement or position on this evolves.
It is the Brownstone Center News Update for Monday, September 8th, 2025. Let's go ahead and get some news together, shall we? Postal traffic to the U.S. is actually sinking, guys. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. International Postal Service into the U.S. fell dramatically following the closure of the tax loophole tied to low-cost imports, according to the Universal Postal Union. The United National Postal Agency said that the suspension of the duty-free de minimis exemption brought postal traffic to the U.S. to a near halt and caused exchanges to plummet by 81% on August 29th compared to a week prior. To help mitigate continued disruptions, UPU is releasing a tool to help postal creators determine and collect shipping costs. Over 99% of Air Canada's 10,000 flight attendants have rejected the airline's proposed wage deal after last month's 4-day walkout disrupted travel for about 500,000 travelers, according to the Wall Street Journal. However, the country's largest air carrier and its union members have mutually agreed to enter into mediation, potentially arbitration, to reach a resolution to avoid future labor disruptions. The flight attendants seek raises and to build on critical compensation gains won in the now rejected agreement, including payment for pre-flight work. Here are the numbers to watch this week. Prices are in focus this week, with a key gauge expected to show that inflation accelerated last month. The U.S. Consumer Price Index is forecast by economists to have risen an annual 2.9% in August, faster than 2.7% in July. A measure stripping out fluctuating food and fuel prices is projected to remain unchanged at 3.1%, while those levels are above the Federal Reserve's 2.8% target. Concern has shifted to employment. Friday's worse than forecast jobs report fueled expectations the central bank will cut interest rates at its September 17th meeting. So tomorrow, the Bureau of Labor Statistics will release the Producer Price Index for August. Thursday, September 11th, the U.S. Department of Labor is going to release initial jobless claims, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics will release monthly consumer price index numbers for August. And then on Friday, the University of Michigan will release its preliminary consumer sentiment index for September. For more news and information that you can always use, head over to brownstoneworldwide.com. Check out daily deals and coupons while you are there, as well as Brownstone Living Magazine for the month of September is coming this week. Don't forget to check out the previous months, and also Cityscape Radio for sounds you'll remember and podcasts you'll enjoy. We'll see you around.
Welcome to the neighborhood. 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 Yeah.
Do y'all remember the propaganda that Republicans were spewing around the Affordable Care Act, saying that it would create death panels, and older Americans all across the country were freaking out about how they were going to lose their Medicare and they were going to be put up before these death panels that were going to decide not to extend care to them? It was a fantastic bit of fear-mongering by the Republicans. Gosh, you know how I say that every accusation is a confession from these guys? Well, we are now hearing, I heard it first from Stacey Abrams, who was sounding the alarm, but I subsequently read a piece in the Politico about how Republicans now want to use AI to create what? Yeah, Medicare death panels.
Trump and the Republicans quietly created the first wave of death panels. I'm not being hyperbolic. They are launching a pilot program that uses artificial intelligence to decide whether Medicare patients get certain treatments. That means an algorithm, not your doctor, can say yes or no to care, to lower quality of life and the potential of inadequate medical treatment. But unlike the histrionics around the Affordable Care Act, private tech companies will actually get a cut of the money they save by denying treatment. The more care they block, the more they profit. At the very same time, Elon Musk is rewriting his AI chatbot Grok to parrot right-wing talking points. That's the same AI that spit out Nazi slogans before he pulled it back. If you read my latest novel, Coded Justice, you know this is dangerous. When algorithms become the tools of autocrats, they become weapons used against the people. Medicare is our nation's promise to our elderly. But under this authoritarian regime, guaranteed healthcare for seniors is being secretly morphed into private insurance that can discriminate. And truth itself is being rewritten through algorithms. It's dystopian. It's wrong. And it's already happening in the pilot states of Arizona, New Jersey, Ohio, Oklahoma, Texas, and Washington. This is step 7 in the autocrat's playbook. Weaponize technology to strip away rights from the vulnerable, to control what people believe, and decide who counts. If we stay quiet, it won't stop with Medicare. It's another step towards autocracy. And our health and our democracy are on the line.
Nothing that Stacey Abrams said there was an exaggeration. It was all entirely accurate. According to the Politico and MSNBC, Democrats are raising the alarm about this new pilot program that is using AI to decide certain kinds of treatment and whether or not your elders will get access to it. Congressman Frank Malone of New Jersey said, "I'm concerned that this AI model will result in denials of life-saving care and incentivize companies to restrict care." Right? These are private AI companies that get a little kickback if they limit costs. We already know that for-profit healthcare in this country is incredibly broken. Millions of Americans die because they are denied access to care, often care that they are supposed to be getting, that they are paying for in their policy. They are denied care so that shareholders can get bigger dividends and CEOs can have bigger bonus packages. When you mix profit and healthcare, you automatically incentivize withholding care from people that need it. Representative Greg Landsman of Ohio says this program has been referred to as the AI death panel. You get more money if you're that AI tech company if you deny more claims. Congressman Landsman is calling for the program to be shut down until an independent review board can be erected to review the liability questions and ensure that the AI prior authorization pilot does not harm patients. Why are we living in a country where AI is deciding who gets access to healthcare? Why are we living in a country where elected officials who often don't understand anything definitely about reproductive anatomy? Remember that Republican who said that women should swallow a camera so that doctors could see what's happening in their uterus when they're pregnant? These are the kind of men who say things like women can just hold in their periods and that if women are raped and they don't want to get pregnant, that it won't happen because they can just reject the sperm. These men are incredibly ignorant. They are making healthcare decisions for all of us. AI and incompetent, ignorant men in our government are making healthcare decisions for us. Why is it that we aren't having our doctors make those decisions? Our healthcare choices, our healthcare needs should be assessed by a physician. That should be something private, confidential between a healthcare provider and their patient. It is absolutely something that can be done under a not-for-profit model. I have not-for-profit health insurance. Kaiser is not-for-profit healthcare. And guess what? They have the lowest rejection rate of any health insurance company in the United States. They have the highest approval rate for claims of anybody, and they are a not-for-profit model because they have to prioritize healthcare for their members rather than CEO bonuses. And this new AI death panel program, obviously, tremendous ethical conflicts arise when you say the more you save us, the larger the bonuses you get, the more procedures and care you deny Medicare patients, our elders who we have promised to take care of, the more claims you deny for them, the more money that your private corporation can pocket. That's a direct conflict of interest. Healthcare should never be tied to profit. Healthcare should never have a financial incentive attached to it. Denial of healthcare should never have a financial incentive attached to it. There's already pending litigation against 2 private for-profit health insurance companies in the United States who use artificial intelligence and algorithms to systematically deny care to patients. That's Cigna and United Healthcare. Remember them? This is profoundly concerning. If you are in any of the states that Stacey Abrams mentioned, you need to be reaching out to your members of Congress and to your senators and vocally opposing this program. Our elders' healthcare is on the line. These are real death panels. People will die. People will be denied access to necessary care so that private corporations can pocket more of our taxpayer dollars. Everything this regime does is a grift, y'all. Everything they do is a grift. They are trying to funnel our hard-earned taxpayer dollars into the pockets of business owners in the private sector. A lot of businessmen are getting really rich off of our tax dollars and off of us suffering under the Trump regime, and it's got to stop.
Yeah, I saw this clip where it says Arkansas farmers praying to God to help them with their farms since these terrorists start taking over. To help them against Trump's terrorists is what the article said. My first question was, Arkansas farmers, y'all voted in droves for Donald Trump. Y'all supported him. The same farmers that had to get a government handout the last time he was in office. So y'all needed a government handout, which y'all are so against, right? You vote against anybody getting any type of assistance, except for when it comes to y'all. So the taxpayers bailed you out in 2015, 16, whatever it was when he was in office. Y'all come back in 2024 and you vote him back in. Now you are praying and asking God to save you from Trump's terrorists. How are you praying against y'all's second coming? Isn't that what y'all saying? That God sent Trump here to save this country? How are you praying against God's chosen? Per y'all now. I've never said it. But you guys have been saying Trump is chosen, Trump is this, Trump is that. God sent him here to save the country. Y'all been saying all of this. My question is, why are you praying for something, against something you said you prayed for? And now Nebraska and Arkansas farmers are asking for another government handout. You want the taxpayers to bail you out again? But these are the same people that voted against when Biden was trying to save, when Biden was trying to help student loans. He was trying to help people that have student loans. He wanted to get rid of their student loans for them. Y'all were hell bent against that. You don't need any more government handouts. But what makes y'all so special that y'all deserve them? What makes y'all so special that after this self-inflicted wound, now you want people who you have voted against getting federal assistance, getting SNAP benefits, getting housing assistance, veterans benefits? Y'all voted against all of that. What makes y'all so special that you deserve a government handout while people are going to be starving because y'all voted for people to lose their SNAP benefits? People are going to be homeless because y'all voted against Section 8 housing. What makes you so special that our tax dollars should go to you for your own self-inflicted wound because you constantly go out here and vote against what's against your best interests? And we're supposed to come in and save you in the 11th hour? Oh, I think not. I think not. You voted for this. You supported this. You campaigned for this. Y'all had Trump signs all over the place. Deal with it. You don't believe in government handout, right? It's a waste. It's a waste of tax dollars, right? You voted against waste. We're not going to waste another billions and billions of dollars to bail you out of what we bailed you out of in 2016, 2017. Why should we keep doing this? Why should we be on repeat to give you money but then starve everybody else out? I wish I would. I wish they would. I would stop paying my taxes. I will go and have it where ain't no taxes coming out of my... I will not. No, I will not. I don't care about you. Oh, you should have saw the clip. They had a room full of farmers down on their knees. Why are you praying against what you prayed for? You said y'all prayed for Trump. Y'all said Trump was God's chosen. So now what is it? Is he not his chosen? All of a sudden, now he's not his chosen because it's affecting you? Oh, honey, please. Them prayers ain't going no further than the ceiling because it's a selfish prayer. You didn't care about other people losing their livelihoods. You didn't care about veterans losing their benefits. You didn't care about people not being able to take care of their children. You didn't care about schools cutting out free lunch for underprivileged children. You didn't care about none of that. None of that even made y'all raise an eyebrow. But the minute it affects you, now all of a sudden you think y'all deserve a government handout. I wish. Wait for it. I wish they would take 1 penny of my tax dollars and bail you out of another self-inflicted wound. I think not. I think not. And don't have any empathy for it. I'm tired of it. Y'all went out here all gun-ho and supported this man, despite the fact that the man that was in the office before him had set up subsidies to help you take care of your farms. It helped y'all with all kind of farm equipment, all kind of other things that you needed. It was something to get y'all through. And y'all spit in his face and voted the one that came in. The first thing he did was revoke everything that helped the farmers that Biden had implemented. And we're supposed to feel sorry for that. I wish I would. It's about time you learn. I will not stand in the way of you learning the lessons you need to learn from this. I will not prevent you from learning life lessons that you truly need to learn. So I just say, hey, figure it out the best way you can. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And that's what y'all telling the people that wanted to get some relief from these student loans that they have overly charged these students for. They don't even have a chance to get out here and get started without already being hindered with thousands of dollars in bills that they've got to pay. Yeah, I had no sympathy for them young people. You ain't had no sympathy for children losing their school lunch. You ain't had no sympathy for the vets losing life-saving programs. Y'all didn't have no sympathy. But now that it's affecting you, all of a sudden now the empathy and the sympathy comes in. You can take that empathy and that sympathy, and you know what you can do with it. Use it just like you used it when you went in that voting booth, and you voted for who you voted for. Deal with it. Suck it up. Ain't nobody coming to your rescue this time. This time, we're going to let what you vote for take your tail around the block a time or two and drop you off like a two-bit hooker once they've had their fun with you. So, hey, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You got this.